Prime. It is a Monday, the 30th of June 2025, the last day of the month of June. Here's to hoping that you did have a restful weekend. My name is Faith Nyaude. A quick look at stories making the headlines tonight. A delegation from the South Korean parliament is in Zimbabwe with the deputy speaker, who is leading the team, saying the Asian country is keen on expanding trade relations with Zimbabwe. Stay tuned to Newsplus as we look at the existing investment opportunities between Zimbabwe and South Korea. SADC senior officials are meeting in Harare, Zimbabwe from the 30th of June to the 2nd of July 2025 to prepare for a joint ministerial meeting on energy and water. This meeting will focus on strengthening regional collaboration and assessing progress on key initiatives in these sectors. Newsplus's updates on the opening senior officials meeting, which kicked off today. Newsplus gives you the latest on the trial of businessmen Mike Chimombe and Moses Mpofu, which continued at the High Court in Harare today. And in sport, we give you the latest on the test match between the Chevrons and Proteas, which is underway in Bulawayo. In our first story this evening, Speaker of Parliament for the Republic of South Korea, Joo Ho-young, has expressed willingness by businesses in the Asian country to invest here in Zimbabwe. Young is leading a South Korean parliamentary delegation which is in Zimbabwe. The delegation today met Speaker of the Parliament of Zimbabwe, Advocate Jacob Mudenda, at the Parliament building in Mount Upton.
Zimbabwe and South Korea share a positive and growing relationship marked by diplomatic ties, economic cooperation, and cultural exchange. Economic cooperation between the two countries is focused on areas such as trade promotion, capacity building, and investment. According to the United Nations Comtrade database on international trade, bilateral trade between Zimbabwe and South Korea stood at $30 million in 2023. With both countries actively working to explore new opportunities, trade turnover between Harare and Seoul is poised for growth.
So with the Speaker of National Assembly today, we have agreed to set up Zimbabwe-Korea Parliamentary Friendship Group Association, and also to set up possibly a joint commission to further expand our cooperation in different areas.
Deputy Speaker of the South Korean Parliament, Joo Ho-young, met his Zimbabwean counterpart, Advocate Jacob Mudenda, in Harare today. He is leading a delegation of parliamentarians from the Asian country. Deputy Speaker further highlighted the importance of a stable business climate in attracting foreign investments.
We shared some of the concerns that Korean NGOs have in their operations here with regards to work permits, but I asked the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, to pay keen attention to these issues, to which he said he was willing to do so, and in line with the President of Zimbabwe's motto of Zimbabwe open to all business.
The significant diplomatic interface sought to deepen bilateral ties between the two legislative institutions through the exchange of parliamentary exchanges and legislative best practices. Advocate Mudenda reassured the South Korean delegation of Zimbabwe's commitment to engaging with the South Korean government to foster a business-friendly atmosphere.
It has to do with transaction. We have to engage the Minister of Finance accordingly and map the way forward so that we remain predictable, we have a conducive environment for investment, both not only external but also.
South Korea is showing increasing interest in strengthening economic ties with Zimbabwe, particularly in areas like agriculture, mining, and tourism. This interest is driven by South Korea's desire to expand its influence in Africa and by Zimbabwe's potential as an investment destination. The two countries are also exploring the possibility of establishing a joint commission to further foster the growing relations. As Zimbabwe forges ahead its economic growth agenda, such partnerships have immense potential to unlock significant opportunities. Beyond entertainment and food, South Korea is also a leader in technology, boasting major electronics companies and high-speed internet infrastructure. Potential areas of cooperation between Harare and Seoul are vast, with the existing cordial relations acting as a springboard to further grow trade.
Now, earlier in the day, Speaker of Parliament, Advocate Jacob Mudenda, hosted a 13-member Eswatini parliamentary delegation, which is in the country on a benchmarking visit. This morning, the delegation also met Senate President Mabel Shnomona and her deputy, retired Lieutenant General Michael Nyambuya, along with members of the Committee on Standing Rules and Orders. As part of their visit, the delegation toured the new parliament building, gaining insights into Zimbabwe's legislative infrastructure, operational frameworks, and innovations in parliamentary governance. The Kingdom of Eswatini Speaker of the House of Assembly, Jabulani Mabuza, is leading the delegation.
The purpose for us here is to benchmark, especially for our parliament, especially the Board of Parliament, the Parliamentary Service Board. We wanted to find out from our colleagues in Zimbabwe, how are they running their business in terms of the Parliamentary Service Board. At home, we are busy with putting up a restructuring exercise for our staff in Parliament. So we wanted to then come and understand how is the staff in Zimbabwe in comparison with what we are putting up in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
Meanwhile, senior officials responsible for energy and water from the Southern African Development Community have begun their 4-day joint meeting in Harare to review progress and strengthen cooperation on regional infrastructure, energy security, and water resource management.
The high-level meeting comes as the region intensifies efforts to accelerate integration and improve basic services amid growing demand for reliable power and clean water. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Energy, Engineer Gloria Magombo, highlighted the need to implement climate resilience strategies to ensure the development of the water and energy sectors in the SADC region. Engineer Magombo stated that the universal access to water and energy will go a long way in promoting inclusion and equity in the region.
The energy sector has suffered immensely from these adverse climate impacts, particularly leading to huge reductions in power generation, which is one of the most affordable sources of electricity. Zimbabwe and Zambia share a hydro resource, and Kariba is one of those where we lost most of our generation capacity, going as far down as 25% of what is installed.
She hailed the regional bloc for the different projects being implemented to integrate and promote the water, energy, and food security. Engineer Makumbo added that the programs will play a critical role in ensuring that Southern Africa is water and energy secure.
We commend SADC for the existing collaboration in power trading through the regional power infrastructure connections in Southern Africa and the work in progress to interconnect the Eastern African power pool.
SADC's Deputy Secretary for Regional Integration, Angel Makombo Ndumba, announced the launch of the Retrade SA program, which was approved in January with a total funding of $1.2 billion United States dollars. The Retrade SA program aims to enhance electricity trade, climate resilience, and low carbon development within the Southern African power pool.
We note with great appreciation that the Retrade SA program, approved in January this year with a total funding commitment of $1.26 billion US dollars from the World Bank, has been launched. This transformative initiative aims to 1. Increase regional electricity trade by 25%.
Ntumba highlighted that the water sector remains a key pillar in the SADC regional integration agenda, which is set to promote economic development, public health, and climate resilience. She said the outcomes of the meeting are expected to shape future regional strategies in energy and water sectors, which are central to economic growth and climate resilience in the region.
We are confident that between now and 2050, the SADC region will continue to ensure that implementation of priority energy and water projects are accelerated to transform the region into an energy secure and water secure and climate resilient region.
The SADC senior officials meeting, which ends on 2 July, is preparing for a joint ministerial meeting on energy and water scheduled for 4 July in Harare. The SADC joint meeting for ministers is set to provide an important platform to assess progress and fast-track key initiatives in the energy and water sectors as part of SADC's commitment to regional integration and improving the lives of citizens. For ZTM Prime, I am Mashudu Mambo in Harare.
We give you fresh details from the Moses Mpofu and Mike Chimombe trial when Newsplus comes back.
Asilwela ukunqoba kuphela, kepha silwela ukwakha isizwe esinohlonze. Sekunjalo.
Win big in the EcoCash Chakachaya Ziawaku EcoCash promotion with over 200,000 winners. Earn at least 20 points when you cash in, send money, buy airtime or data, make payments, receive money from the diaspora, or receive your salary via EcoCash. And you could be in the running to win an all-expenses-paid trip to watch an AFCON match in Morocco, a holiday for two in Dubai, solar kits, cows, fridges, gas stoves, motorbikes, cash, airtime, and so much more. It's simple. Simply transact, earn points, and win in the Chakachaya Ziawaku EcoCash promotion. Dial *151# or use the EcoCash app now. EcoCash. Live life the EcoCash way.
Harare. Tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Now, Moses Mpofu and Mike Chimombe's trial continued this Monday, with the judge handing down his ruling pertaining the bidding document that had been in contestation with the defense, stating that the bid document is essential to the trial. The two businessmen are accused of defrauding the government of $7.7 million in the presidential goat person scheme tender. Kimberly Chibalanga gives us more in this report.
Moses Mpofu and Mike Chimombe's trial in the $7.7 million involving the presidential God person scheme continued today, with the judge ruling that he could not dismiss the standard bidding document since it is essential to the trial. Justice Pisrai Kwenda ruled that the accused were aware that the trial is concerned with the document and there is no need to have it dismissed. He further added that from the allegations, it is stated that the two businessmen made the bidding document. He stated the simple allegation is that the accused persons made a representation to the Ministry of Agriculture by submitting certain tender documents. Justice Kwenda also said the accused persons used copies that form part of the bidding document in cross-examination, which is all the more reason for not dismissing the document. Professor Love Momaduku, representing Mike Chimombe, still objected to the state tendering the bidding document, citing that they did not have sight of the original copy. He added that they want compliance from the state since, according to Section 275, tendered documents ought to be original or certified, yet the ones before the court are just copies. Whisper Mabaudi, representing the state, told the court that the original bidding document nor a copy will not make a difference. The trial was rolled over to July 2 for the state and defense to sort out compliance issues of the original bidding document. For ZTN Prime, I'm Kimberly Chimbalanga in Harare.
Now, not only is today a Monday, but this week will also mark the start of a new month. And as the winter sets in, we are keeping you informed so that you stay ahead of the weather. We are now joined live by the Met Department Chief Forecaster, James Ngoma, to just get an update on what the weather will look like in the coming days. James, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us right here on Newsplus. We are heading into a new month, the month of July. What is the weather outlook going to be like for Zimbabwe as we do enter into this month? Are there any potential extreme cold weather events that we can expect during this period?
Thank you very much, Faith, for that question. Looking at the month of June and its aspects, we had very cold days, especially over the southern parts of the country because of cooling southeasterlies of areas such as Masvingo, Matabeleland South and Manicaland. And as we enter the month of July, it has begun off with that cold southeasterly push over those southern parts of the country, with even the eastern highlands receiving a bit of rainfall. So we still are seeing the strengthening of those southeasterly winds that drift in from South Africa, and this give us more of the colder weather that is coming in from the Atlantic Ocean and in Indian Ocean as well into parts of South Africa and entering in through Mozambique as well. It gives us cooler conditions, and we should expect more of these cold spells as we get into the month of July and even further on into August as well.
Now, James, in terms of some specific health complications and hazards that are associated with the winter season, what advice can you offer to the public to stay healthy and safe during this time?
That's a whole mixed bag of things to advise. In terms of the general public, we know that most people want to put in fires in their fireplaces. Some use braziers, which are yombauras. And with that, you know that there's that potential of carbon monoxide forming, especially if the room is enclosed, because our fires and braziers tend to use up much of the oxygen which will be in the rooms, turning it into carbon dioxide. And if the oxygen is not sufficient, it then converts it into carbon monoxide, which tends to be very poisonous. And thus we urge the public that if you tend to use this as a means of keeping warm, please ensure that the room is well ventilated. And you should ensure that the elderly as well as the young are kept warm. It might be in terms of the blankets that you have to change during winter, as well as the clothes, the attire that people have to wear during this period. They should be also aware that in terms of the afternoons tend to be very warm in nature and deceive. But as you get towards evening hours, the temperatures plummet once again. So even if you're out and about, please ensure that you carry a jersey. For your young children, also carry an extra jersey or two so that you keep them warm during this period.
Now, James, that was advice on the health front. Now, on the agricultural aspect, how might the winter weather conditions affect agriculture, particularly for crops? And what precautions can farmers be taken to mitigate any potential negative effects?
So it's interesting that when we get more of the sunny conditions across board, for the farmer that's a potential hazard because the clearance of the clouds causes the temperatures to drop significantly, especially over high ground. So in those instances, we get the occurrence of frost, which is a complete drop of temperatures. Some below sub-zero temperatures. We get the negatives in areas such as Yomatopos, Gweru, Masvingo, Rusape, Nyanga, as well as Henderson. Those are the areas that are usually prone to frost, even our far field as Lupani. So because of that fall of temperatures, crops tend to freeze over. It's better when the frost occurs when there's a bit of moisture because it freezes from the outside, but if there's no moisture, the crops tend to freeze from the inside, and that's irreversible, whilst the one earlier spoken of where the frost forms outside the crop is reversible. So in terms of such occurrences, farmers are urged to irrigate their crops overhead so that they increase the moisture content within the atmosphere, thus reducing the impact of these frost occurrences on the crops.
James Ngoma, Chief Forecaster with the Met Department, just giving us a weather update as we head into the week. James, thank you so much for joining us on Newsplus. Now, still staying with the environment around us, from July 23rd to the 31st, almost 1,500 delegates from 170 nations will meet in Zimbabwe for the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, COP15 in Victoria Falls. This critical meeting, known as COP15 Ramsar, will focus on the subject, protecting wetlands for our common future, with the purpose of encouraging worldwide collaboration in wetland preservation and restoration. ZTN correspondent Selina Nyamangara has more.
Zimbabwe's wetlands are a biodiversity hotspot, home to spectacular animals such as African elephants and rhinoceros. Aside from their important biological services, these wetlands also contribute significantly to the livelihoods of neighboring populations through sustainable fishing, agriculture, and tourism. With only 23 days left before the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Contracting Parties to the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, the government and its major stakeholders are stepping up preparations for this important international event. The conference, which will bring together 172 contracting parties from all over the world to discuss wetland conservation and sustainable use, is expected to give Zimbabwe the opportunity to share its conservation experiences, learn from the global community, boost its economy, and strengthen its efforts to combat climate change.
It's an opportunity for us to showcase how we've been preserving and conserving our wetlands, the projects that we've been doing, so that the world may know, so that we'll also learn from them and they'll also learn from us on how wetlands can be preserved considering our national circumstances.
Chapungu also stated that preparations are moving well, noting better stakeholder collaboration, continuous registration of guests and exhibitors, and improved public awareness campaigns as significant measures now underway.
At the moment, we have more than 1,500 people that have registered, both internationally and locally. And our registration date is today. So by end of today, we are then going to see whether our numbers are in line with our expected participants. If there is a gap, there might be need for an extension of the registration period, especially for the locals.
This conference is expected to be officiated by President Emmerson Mnangagwa alongside other heads of states in the region and across the globe.
The official opening is there on the 24th of July, and it's going to be opened by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa. We're also expecting heads of states from the SADC region and a few others from the international fora. Then we also have other meetings that are going to be led by the Minister of Environment, Dr. Evelyn Glovo.
One of the key aspects of Zimbabwe's approach to wetland conservation is its emphasis on community-led initiatives. By working closely with the local communities, various measures are being implemented to combat deforestation and land degradation, which are both major threats to wetland ecosystems.
A lot of effort has to be put in protecting those catchment areas, like minimizing the rate of deforestation, addressing the issues of deforestation in catchment areas that are surrounding our wetlands in Zimbabwe.
The Forest Commission also added that Zimbabwe will assume the COP chairmanship, which they will use to strengthen its conservation efforts in the country and the world at large.
So it's a learning platform. If it means that we are going to learn what we need to add to our existing policies so that we are at par with our colleagues around the country, this is what we want to do. And in the 3 years that follow up, where we are taking up the presidency for the Ramsar Convention, we are expected to be implementing some of those lessons. So, because there will be a lot of people looking at us now, what are we doing as the leader, as the presidency? What are we doing?
As the countdown to COP15 continues, Zimbabwe is seizing the opportunity to reinforce its role in global environmental stewardship while showcasing its unique natural heritage to the world. Reporting for ZTN Prime in Harare, I am Selena Nyamangara.
You are watching Newsplus. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Crowd goes absolutely emphatic. He has done it.
Get ready for more on Supersport, the only place to watch all the FIFA Club World Cup.
Are you a player in Zimbabwe's media and broadcasting sector? Whether you are on radio, TV, print, online, in academia or the private sector, your voice matters. The Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe, BAZ, is conducting a national stakeholder survey to understand stakeholder needs and preferences regarding compliance data with the aim of improving its accessibility, format, and exploring potential monetization strategies. We want to hear from you, the content creators, broadcasters, publishers, digital innovators, and industry partners who keep our media ecosystem alive. Help us shape a future where our media is not only vibrant, but financially sustainable. To participate, visit our website at www.baz.co.zw. Scroll down to Featured Resources at the bottom of the homepage and select June 16, 2025. Your input will help develop a new framework for investing in, managing, and growing Zimbabwe's media industry. BAZ, celebration and expression of our cultural identity through broadcasting.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Now, Zimbabwe and South Africa are working on enhancing cross-border data collection, transfer, and management. The mutual cooperation requires that personal data transferred abroad receive a similar level of protection as that of its local jurisdiction. This was revealed during the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Postal and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe and the South African Information Regulator. Our correspondent, Stajiso Gwaza, witnessed the signing ceremony that was held in Harare earlier today.
Cross-border data management is a concept that has gained significant importance in today's digital age. It is crucial for global operations and enabling communication, customer service, and data analytics. The agreement signed today between the two regulatory bodies outlines terms and conditions for transferring and managing personal data between the two countries. The aim is to facilitate seamless and lawful transfer of data between Zimbabwe and South Africa.
So this MOU commits us to strengthening regulatory capacity in data protection, harmonizing safeguards for cross-border data flows, improving business efficiency through clear frameworks, and building trust in the digital economy. It will enable joint work through benchmarking, through personal exchange and capacity building.
The framework seeks to balance the facilitation of data flow with the need for data protection, privacy, and national sovereignty. The two regulators are confident that the agreement will strengthen their operations. Despite Zimbabwe and South Africa having different data regulating approaches, both organizations express commitment to learning and improving their mandate through the adoption of best practices.
Difficulties are there, they are a reality of life, but it's to learn from those difficulties, because those challenges might help the two regulators to begin to even look at themselves and look at their laws and what to learn from the laws of the regulators. And from the presentation by the DG, I've seen areas where we have not even started doing, for example, certification in terms of educational programs. We just train people.
Interconnected world data transfer plays a vital role in various aspects of our lives, and authorities in South Africa believe automating regulatory systems will add value to their objectives.
I think it's important that we automate. There are views that when you automate, you must think about people who live in the rural areas. I agree with that view. But you can't stop automating. You've got to take the automation to where they are. Where I disagree is where we think as a regulator, as small as we are in numbers, dealing with all these matters, we can deal with them just on our own without automation. So for us, automation is a big project to try and make sure that people access the regulator wherever they are.
Cross-border data flows are critical in today's global economic and social interactions. The cooperation framework between Zimbabwe and South Africa could be the first step towards fostering a global digital environment where data can move freely while ensuring appropriate safeguards and oversight. For ZTM Prime, I am Satajisiwe Gwaza.
Now we take a look at news from around the world, and we start off with some local political and civil society figures in Bukavu who have voiced skepticism a day ahead of the US-brokered Rwanda-DRC peace deal, warning it prioritizes economic interests over genuine conflict resolution. The DRC and Rwanda signed a landmark US and Qatari brokered peace agreement in Washington, D.C. on Friday, putting an end to years of conflict between the two neighboring countries. The agreement sets a 90-day deadline for a regional economic plan, 30 days for a joint security mechanism, and 3 months for the withdrawal of Rwandan troops from the Congolese territory. This accord offers a potential turning point to the ongoing conflict.
Donc le gouvernement congolais doit tenir compte aussi des problèmes internes propres à la nation, notamment l'injustice qui règne, les détournements des fonds qui sont là. Ce sont là les choses qui doivent être discutées entre les Congolais pour amener la cohésion nationale qui, depuis un moment, est en train d'être détériorée. Parce que vous savez qu'il y a eu beaucoup des opposants qui ont été arrêtés, il y a eu beaucoup de détournements qui ont été signalés, il y a eu beaucoup de menaces et du tribalisme qui continue à prendre de l'ampleur dans le pays, et pourtant nous devons vivre unis. Alors ça, ce sont des problèmes qui doivent être traités ici entre nous les Congolais, et enfin...
Over in Cameroon, leader of the National Union for Democracy and Progress, Bello Boba Maigari, announced his presidential candidacy during a congress in Yaoundé on Saturday, shifting away from a long-term ally of presidential Paul Biya ahead of Cameroon's October election. The decision comes 4 months before the presidential election and just days after the Front for the National Salvation of Cameroon party leader, Minister Issa Tishroma Bakari, resigned from the government and declared his candidacy.
Has decided that this time around our party should
participate in the next presidential election with our own candidate and asked me to be that candidate, which I accepted.
In El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur in Sudan, is in a catastrophic humanitarian crisis with over 1 million civilians trapped under siege for more than a year, facing severe shortages of food, water, and medical supplies. The armed conflict in Sudan, which erupted in mid-April of 2023 between the Sudanese armed forces and the rival Rapid Support Forces, has now raged for over 2 years, with the western region of Darfur remaining one of the most severely affected areas. Sustained fighting has inflicted extensive damage to hospitals, schools, markets, and residential areas, resulting in heavy civilian casualties.
هنالك قصف منهج مركز على تجمعات السكان من معسكر ابو شوك ومن مراكز الايواء ومن تواجد السكان في المدارس وفي غيرها من البنيه التحتيه المواقع العامه. هنالك قصف ممنهج. هذا القصف ادى لتدمير كل المؤسسات الصحيه وتدمير البنيه التحتيه.
أطفال ده إشسال وطراش يعني جو أجلو جو حرايا الأكلة جرى كله يا ذات وأيانين لاعبنا حاجة نرقو فوق وجينا إسبتالة ذات وضيق محل زول في 8 يوم ما تلقى جناك تودي إسبتالة وتلقى له دواء.
In Spain, a record-breaking heat wave has been heating since Saturday, with temperatures soaring to 46 degrees Celsius, the hottest temperature ever recorded in the month of June. The Met Department in Spain, AMET, says the southern city El Granado reached a record high of 46 degrees Celsius on Saturday. The extreme heat has forced Spain to issue a red warning, as even the northern autonomous community, Galicia, has been bearing the heat, reaching 40 degrees Celsius. In the U.S., the latest version of U.S. President Donald Trump's major tax cut and spending bill would add over $3 trillion to debt in 10 years, according to the U.S. Congressional Budget Office. Dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the bill cleared a 51-49 procedural vote in the U.S. Senate late Saturday night, setting the stage for the debate. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that the latest Senate version of Trump's tax cut and spending bill could increase U.S. debt by nearly $3.3 trillion over 10 years, $1 trillion more than the House version. Republicans dispute this, citing that a White House report that claims the bill will stimulate growth and reduce debt. The legislation aims to extend 2017 tax cuts, cut taxes, boost military spending, and finance it through deep cuts to social welfare programs. And now we take a look at some business news.
Catch exclusive interviews every weekday for candid, exciting, and thought-provoking conversations with your host, Erika Ndoro.
We talk about arts, we can talk about sports, we can even talk about politics, and sometimes we venture into a nice guitaristic play.
The one story where you can't get out of your head. Wakatarisa munhu so Erika, like where you're sitting. Ndozongokona bata face so pasina munhu.
Wakasiya music yako yo afro chakuti ndo music manje no Zimbabwe.
And I'm sure they're still saying the same thing now.
Yeah, so
Shona kana kuti chindevere kana mumwe mutaure muno muZimbabwe ndiwe iwewe ndiwo rupawo rwako ndicho chidadiso chako.
Catch me, Erika Ndoro, right here on ZTN Prime every single Monday at 7 p.m. whilst we get exclusive.
Captain Wally J is about to take you to boot camp.
It's the riveting science and tech show that keeps you up to date with the hottest gizmos on the block and revealing the illustrious and innovative visionaries in Zimbabwe. So much to see, you'll keep swiping.
This cherry red beauty is the Dairy Auto M7 mini electric car.
We've designed our brute force incubator board.
Look at what we've got here.
Solar powered scarecrow was part of the project that I was supposed to complete.
Catch Swipe every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, Get the picture?
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Now we take a look at some business news. The Insurance and Pensions Commission total restated revenue for the year ended 31 December 2024 amounted to 311 million ZiG, which is 31% above 238 million ZiG recorded in the year 2023. The regulator has noted soundness in the industry and is working on closing the chapter on the 2009 compensation. Our business reporter, Melissa Chatkobo, gives us details.
The financial and insurance sectors demonstrated resilience, growing by 4.8%, an increase from 2.4% in 2023. IPEC total restated revenue was up 31% in 2024, and total expenditure was up 18% compared to 2023. The Commission recorded a surplus of 12 million ZiG. The Commission cites an increase in the insurance sector, but one pain point has been the delivering of pre-2009 compensation. The hurdle in the process has been poor data integrity, inadequate asset separation, among other concerns.
Pension in the insurance industry is strong, but what we are doing is to encourage you to do more. And we want it to grow. That's why we talk of investors should come and invest in the industry.
To speed up the exercise, IPAC is collaborating with relevant stakeholders to introduce greater flexibility and compliance requirements.
And we are now going to be working mainly using audit financial statements and also actuarial reports which were produced during the investigative period. In addition to that, we've also agreed that shareholders will be levied a certain percentage of shareholders' assets towards compensation.
In 2024, IPEC approved 2 pension funds compensation schemes. About $522,000 United States dollars was disbursed to the 2 schemes' eligible members.
But we are getting there now. I think there's the Commission, as I say, there's commitment from the industry, there's commitment from government itself that they will do something. There's commitment from NASA, from IPEC, because those are the institutions which were quoted in the Justice Smith report.
Minister of Finance says the Commission has to put this matter to bed. Government is committing to settle this in the next 3 years.
I wish to underscore the need to bring closure to the issue of 2009 compensation, which is long overdue. While it's on its party, government has already commenced paying its pensioners and is committed to bring the issue to finality within the next 3 years.
While the numbers paint a picture of growth and resilience, IPEC still faces the pressing task of settling decade-old compensation claims. With government's commitment and renewed stakeholder collaboration, the next 3 years may finally bring closure to a long-standing grievance. Reporting for ZTM Prime, I'm Melissa Chatkobo in Harare.
Still in business, British American Tobacco Zimbabwe has reported a net loss of 7.1 million United States dollars for the year ended December 31, 2024, down sharply from a profit of $9 million US dollars. The cigarette maker's revenue fell 23% to $36 million, weighed down by currency changes during the period under review. Now, the board has declared a final dividend of 20 cents per share, underscoring its commitment to deliver value to their shareholders. Ibn Mabunda joins us live for some perspectives on this. Ibn, a very good evening to you. Now, what is your assessment on BAT's performance?
Well, good evening. A fair set of results, despite the highlighted negatives in terms of the decrease in terms of the top line from about $47 million in 2023 to about $36 million in 2024. Of course, notwithstanding the delays that have resulted in those figures coming in at this point, owing to currency changes that were affected during the course of that reporting period. But I must highlight that there have been some monetary losses of about $17 million resulting in that negative bottom line position. However, after that bottom line position, when you factor in the fact that there were exchange gains of about $9 million, $8 to $9 million, that gives you a truer picture with a comprehensive income position of about $1 million to $1.8 million, which of course would be in the positive, as I would put it. So it's a set of results that's been affected by what I would call elements of noise, as I would put it, in terms of the changes that have been brought about by the kinds of movements there. When you look at the balance sheet, there's actually been a growth in terms of the total assets coming into about $25 million, a positive cash flow position of about $2 million as well. So by and large, I would say the statement of income has been affected by the noisy elements of the currency shifts, but by and large, a strong set of results at the end of the day.
Now, even we're talking about declared losses, and then in the face of this, BAT goes ahead and they declare dividend. What is your assessment, or how worried are you about this declaration?
Well, when you look at the fact that you've got a positive cash flow position of $2 million after, of course, factoring in $700,000 that's been, of course, disbursed in the form of dividends, that to me would speak of a positive position at the end of the day. As I said, there would be some currency noises associated with the statement of profit and loss, but by and large, you're looking at a strong set of financial results which would warrant the disbursements of course, the dividends in this particular case. So a strong cash flow position and a good call where the dividends are concerned.
Now, even according to their financials, allow me to read this, the company continues to wait for Treasury to settle $16.3 million in blocked funds. What does this mean?
Well, blocked funds is a market-wide phenomenon dating back to the currency changes 2019, 2020, 2021, even right up until the 2024 currency shifts. So blocked funds basically refer to amounts that are owed by companies in the form of dividends or foreign obligations, which companies were ready to meet. However, owing to foreign currency shortages at the central bank, these have not been met, of course, by the domestic companies. So yes, this is a figure that the central bank has acknowledged that needs to be paid, that of course BAT is ready to pay, but central bank is waiting to see to it that they have adequate foreign currency within their vaults to be able to service those foreign obligations. And it's a scenario unique to BAT Zimbabwe, but that is of course common among several listed companies in Zimbabwe, hence that particular figure that we're looking at there. So of course, yes, it's a cause for concern, but not something to really worry about, as this is a market-wide phenomenon. However, when you look at the bigger picture, you would want to see to it that these obligations are met in time as per the agreements that domestic companies would have reached with their foreign creditors. And so, yeah, that would be perhaps the scenario with those blocked funds.
Or even Mabunda, our money man, just helping us make sense of the results posted by BAT. Even thank you so much for your time. Now, when Newsplus comes back, we are giving you a look at sport, where the Chevrons and Proteas match currently underway in Blayo. Stay with us.
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoiled.
And then they just give me the receipt not paid.
That guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Harare. Tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. And on our look at sport, we start off with some cricket, with Sean Williams having been compared to Zimbabwe cricket legend and ICC Hall of Fame Andy Flower after producing a batting masterclass, crafting a sublime 137 to anchor Zimbabwe's first innings reply on the second day of the first test against South Africa at Queen's Sports Club on Sunday. The veteran left-hander's composed knock stood out like a beacon, accounting for more than half of the Chevron's first innings total of 251.
Yeah, look, I think anyone that's watched the top players score runs, there's likenings of to Andy Flower, and today's innings by Sean was probably one of the best I've seen by any Zimbabwean batsman. And the reason is, Sean identified through the last couple of test matches that, look, he had got himself in, he had shifted through his gears, and probably often when he's in the 60s, 70s, and sometimes in his 80s, he fails to identify when to shift down a gear in terms of potentially taking too many risks or potentially trying to score at too high a strike rate. So today, anyone watching that innings would have noticed a noticeable shift when momentum was against us. Sean then went down a gear and he played, in my mind, one of the best innings. And some of the sweep shots that he played to Maharaj, the way he played Maharaj, you would put him and Andy Flower on exactly the same pedestal. So in terms of how good that innings was, I'd say it's really up there with one of the best, and he can be very proud of his innings today.
Chevron's opener Brian Bennett will play no further part in the ongoing test match against South Africa at Queen's Sports Club in Blayo after being diagnosed with a mild concussion. He was struck on the helmet while attempting a hook shot off the bowling by Kwena Mapaka on day 2 of the test. At the time, Bennett had scored 19 runs off 28 balls, including 4 boundaries. Chevron's assistant coach Dion Ibrahim was disappointed to lose Bennett, but bagged his replacement Prince Mashaure to step up in the second innings.
Yeah, obviously losing Brian is a huge blow. He's one of our batsmen in form, as well as a good run scorer in terms that he does score at a good strike rate throughout his innings. So losing him is a massive blow. Prince obviously coming from 12 man has to switch on very quickly. Obviously footage could be a little contentious, I'm not too sure. And we just hope that Prince in the second innings can provide us with a good depth to our bet.
Meanwhile, South Africa lead the first test against Zimbabwe by 504 runs going into day 4 on Tuesday. Wayne Mulder top scored with 147 as the Proteas were 369 all out in the second innings. Wellington Masakadza was the pick of the bowlers for the Chevron with 4 wickets. At stumps, the Chevrons were 3-for-1 with Prince Mashaure unbeaten on 5, while Takudzwa Kaitano went for 12. Play resumes at Queen's Sports Club in Blayo at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Now, tributes are pouring in for footballer Brian Banda, who tragically passed away on Sunday in a road traffic accident along the Shishava-Nibulayo Road. He was 29. The PSL led tributes, hailing him as a talented player who graced the league with skill, passion and commitment to the beautiful game. Banda came through the ranks at Highlanders, making his top-flight debut at Emagumeni before making the switch to FC Platinum, where he won a league title in 2022. FC Platinum said they had not only lost a talented athlete, but also a beloved teammate and friend. Boso also paid tribute to Banda as a gifted midfielder who proudly wore the club's black and white jersey. At international level, Banda had 2 caps for the Warriors. Now, still in sport, Moors returned to the top of the Castle-Lager Premier Soccer League standings, courtesy of a 1-0 win over Highlanders at Barberfeuds on Sunday. Salif Cheya got the goal, his second against Boso, having scored in the reverse fixture at Baobab to help the Panthers complete the double over the Blayo Giants. The win took the northern side back to the summit of the league, leapfrogging Zimbabwe, who were held to a 1-1 draw by FC Platinum on Sunday. Moors coach Lloyd Mtasa was asked about the challenge of being the pace setters in their debut season.
It's a very big challenge, every team wants to throw in from the top, but the reason why we in this league is we knew we meet teams like Highlanders, teams like FC Platinum, Simba and Panama Capes United, those giants, and we just told the guys that to us probably every game is a tough game. We the same like Quake or Triangle. So every time we get into the field of play, you don't expect easy matches in a Premier League. Football is always a pressure game. You're just as good as the last game, and we're saying probably winning here. If the youngsters keep their feet on the ground and then we go there, we can only win if we give a good shift at training, because you play the way you train.
Triangle extended their unbeaten run to 5 matches with a 0 draw against Scotland at Gibbo on Sunday. The Sugar Boys continue to work their way out of the relegation zone, collecting 9 out of a possible 15 points in that period. Triangle coach Genesis Mangombe says his players are finally buying into his football philosophy.
Well, from the onset, they're improving from each day, and I'm happy that in our transition you can see the difference now. But now we also need to be clinical in front of goal, because you see we created numerous chances, but our finishing today wasn't perfect. But I'm happy that we managed to get that point. We didn't lose again. When you fight relegation at the same time, you don't want to lose maximum points. Always like that, but as coaches, at some point you want to prove a point that I'm a good coach. I can transform anything. You see, these boys, the way they are playing is actually the way I want them to play. Keeping possession and at the same time using speed after winning possession.
Greenfield bounced back from their heavy defeat to Triangle, playing out a goalless draw against Capes United at Rufaro on Sunday. Returning coach Rodio Tlhagama took charge of the boys Zenaro for the first time since his reappointment with his side, giving a good account of themselves against the Green Machine. Now, with the transfer window opening on Tuesday, Tlhagama hinted on possible reinforcements for Greenfield for the second half of the season.
I've been in this situation before several times. That's the name of the sport. Sometimes when things are not going on your way, you have to part ways. But when things are also off rail, if the management decides to call you back, then Chipinge is my home and Grifo is my home. I have to go back and make sure that the teams.
Meanwhile, Capes United coach Ian Bakala acknowledged that his side were not at their best, but said he sees a lot of improvement to carry them through the season.
It's the name of the game, but we just have to go and work more extra hard again, because the league is getting tougher and tougher, identifying individuals or what, but it's a whole team. If a mistake is made, it has to be collective. And I think we have learned something which we have to work extra hard, I think, this coming week. I think in the second half, one thing, we created chances, despite I don't know if it was offside or something, but it was good and it was better than the first half.
Well, that's all we had for you on Newsplus this Monday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We leave you with the weather forecast. Good evening and enjoy the rest of your viewing.